Hello everyone, you're welcome to today's episode of the Davies Okeowo show, and I'm so excited to have you all tuning in today. To everyone who's tuning in from all across the world, it's such a pleasure to have you. Today we're going to be having a conversation that I'm super excited about, something that gets me going a lot of the time. Hi Toby, thanks for joining in. Today we're going to be talking about nation building through entrepreneurship, and it is a subject that I'm passionate about because essentially it brings together two components that I am very, very passionate about: nation building on the one hand, entrepreneurship on the other hand. So, I'm super excited, and joining me in the conversation today is not other than Bako Ambianda, who is the Chief Executive Officer and the founder of the Bako Group. The Bako Group is a global conglomerate that's got holdings across multiple industries, across multiple countries in Africa, the United States, and quite a number of other places. Bako was also one of the 30 young Africans that was honored of this year's Forbes Africa 30 under 30 list, and together we are going to be delving into the conversation around nation building and entrepreneurship. Thank you very much, Dr. Shitu, for joining in. It's so good to have you on the show today. So I'm just waiting for Bako to get on the live stream essentially, and then we're going to delve straight into today's conversation. Let me see if I can just ring him up very quickly and let him know that, hey, we are live, sir. Okay, we are live now. Awesome. So I'm sure the Bako is going to be joining us in a few short minutes. Bako Ambianda, like I said earlier, Bako is a global entrepreneur, so I'm super excited about this, and he's got this concept called Afro-developism. I cannot wait to hear about it, and I'm sure that it's going to be bringing a lot of light into that. So essentially we're going to be talking about nation building, and for quite a number of you that have been following this live streams that I've been doing for the past, well over a month right now. I'm one of the first people to start doing live streams before the COVID craze that made it all free for all, but for quite a number of you that have been following this live stream since I started, I would like to say a big thank you to you. Thank you for making it worth the while. Thank you for being there, and thank you for being a partaker of the conversations that I've been having. Remember that you can always drop your questions if there are any point during the conversation. It's not an interview, it's a conversation. I'm just leading with questions, right? So if there's any point during the conversation that you feel that there's a question you need to ask, please ensure that you ask them. All right. Thank you very much, Thobo Kathola, for joining in. You are one of those people that just always blows my mind, and you ensure that we make these conversations worthwhile. Thank you so much, Thobo. It's so good to have you on the show. Yes. So Bako is here. I'm just gonna try to bring him on the live stream right about now. Guys, Bako is a super busy executive. We're not going to be able to take as long a time as we normally would do 40 minutes to an hour, but Bako's definitely got a lot to deal with. He is a bigger CEO than I am. He controls a conglomerate that has global holdings. So we're gonna make the best use of the time that we have. Hello Bako, it's good to have you.
Hello Davies, nice to have you.
Yeah, awesome. Could you speak up a little bit more so that I can hear you clearly?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's much better. It's much better. So good to see you, sir.
Good to see you too.
Awesome. So first and foremost, I always like to start this conversation with something that helps everyone that is watching to understand where we're coming from, because many times it's easy to see our names on Forbes and all these other media platforms and all the good things that we're doing, and if we're not able to connect it to our roots, many times for the audience that is watching, they're not able to connect as effectively. So my first question before we get into the conversation around nation building and entrepreneurship, Bako, would be, you started out as a young African boy, and now you are the founder and CEO of a global conglomerate. Tell us the story. how did this happen? Tell us the Bako story. So how was your growing up like? What kind of kid were you in school? At what point was your, company founded? All of that. Give us the short version of your story.
Well, simple. I grew up in northwest region of Cameroon. It's French and English country. So I grew up in Bamenda. Uh, One important thing about my childhood is that I was very good at selling things. So in our house, I would cut like fruits like mangoes, pear. We call it pear, different fruits, and I'll take it to to our boarding school. I went to a boarding school, GTC GTHS Bamenda. So I was just fond of selling fruits that I harvest from our house. From selling fruits, I started having the interest to sell almost everything that my parents would buy. Now, to explain that to you, my mother can buy me a shoes. I'll put the shoes on for about 2 months, and I'll sell it back more than how much they bought it from, right? So, so I even remember a lot of time my mother will buy something for me and say, "Boy, don't sell it," right? Because she knew that once I have used it, I'll sell it and I'll make money and buy something new and I keep the rest. So I grew up with the interest to sell, to make profit, or just to be able to find things around me to sell. And right now, at this stage in life, you and I can understand that one of the biggest things we need to know how to do is how to sell ourselves to greatness, right?
Definitely.
When I went to the US in 2011, I had a friend of mine by name Christopher Wambo. He was doing an unfranchised business. So he told me to join the business. It was very easy for me because it was all about, hey, Bako, pay in $800. We are going to create you a portal and you can be able to sell different home products that everybody needs on that portal. And you make commission out of everything you sell. So I asked him that I don't have to be buying those products. He said, no, all you need is you pay, they develop you a portal, and then it's like Amazon, right? Amazon was not even like at that level at that time, 2011. So I had this portal. I would meet my friends, my siblings, anybody that I came across at that time. I always give you a card that shows my shop photo, that shop, and you have five cashback or something like that. So I was selling everything, but I didn't have nothing on that shop. And the reason I did so well was because growing in Bamenda, I already had the skills on how to talk people to buy what I'm selling. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I had the skill that I could take a glass of water, and this is a normal water that you can go and buy from any store, but I can talk you into paying me more for that water because I'll make you feel it's an organic water. Right?
So you could sell ice to the Eskimos.
Something like that. So that's just how my journey took off, and from there I started Labako Group in 2012, which today we are doing business in economic.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That's such an inspiring story. And for me, it reinforces something that Tony, who was also on the Forbes list, mentioned to me in the conversation we had last week. He also had learned to sell as a child. And I think that it is high time for us as Africans, and as African families to begin to teach entrepreneurship even to our kids and allow them to explore their geniuses when it comes to things like, learning how to sell, learning how to present to people and things like that. I think that's such a remarkable story. Now, very quickly, let's touch on the Forbes Africa 30 on the 30 list. It's such an honor to be on the list, and congratulations on getting on the list as well. My quick question on that is, how has that affected your personal brand and how has it impacted on your business?
Well, they say when a small dog continues to bark, soon the big dogs will start hearing, right?
Sure.
People might know me now, but I didn't start it in 2020, right? There are so many things that are bigger than Forbes that we have been doing to even be part of the list. So it just gives me that acknowledgement that, hey, you are doing something, keep up. Just that mindset. That's it, right? Because success is not a destination, it is a journey.
It is a journey.
Right? So that's the way I look at some of those things. And when you focus on the transformation along the journey, the impact you are creating, the people you are inspiring, that gives you more self-fulfillment than even the destination.
Definitely.
And being part of like Forbes Africa is just a good feeling to have, knowing that more people are exposed to our stories. They can be inspired to do more, to want more, and to give more. And that already we are contributing a great deal of life.
Fantastic. That is so true. And for me, I think that my take on that is that for every single person that is watching this and that is wondering, how did these guys get on Forbes? You see, there is no magic formula to get it on the list. What you simply need to do is ensure that you do great work that is providing real impact, right? At some point, it may not even be Forbes, right? It may be somebody else, but at some point, so long as you are consistent in the impact that you create and in the work that you do, somebody somewhere will notice the good work that you do. And just like Bako has said, if a small dog continues to bark, at some point, the bigger ones are going to sit up and take notice. Fantastic. So let's get into like the main topic that we have for today. So today's conversation is supposed to be centered around nation building through entrepreneurship. Now, for a lot of people that are watching this, I know that some of you are entrepreneurs already. That is a common term these days. In fact, entrepreneurship sounds like a fancy word today. And if you've been following Bako, or if you've been following myself, I'm sure that if you're not following Bako, please ensure that you do. If you're not following me, ensure that you do. But if you've been following us both as entrepreneurs, you already have an idea of what entrepreneurship is. Nation building, Bako, I've come to find out, is a term that seems to be still strange to a lot of people, but maybe not strange. A lot of people have not come to embrace it as much as they've come to embrace the word entrepreneurship. So my question would be, for those of us that are watching, what is the importance of nation building and why should we care? Why should we, especially as Africans, why should we be concerned? Why should we understand? And why should we participate in nation building?
Let's first dive in a little bit in the whole aspect of nation building. What is nation building, right? It's a multi-dimensional concept that involves the active participation of citizens of a specific country in various ways and in various walks of life.
Keyword, active participation.
Correct, right? And when you look into nation building through entrepreneurship, we need to also touch on what is entrepreneurship, right? Taking calculated risks, ability to identify opportunities and build new solutions, right? And being able to cater for and solve solutions and create impact. When you look into specific countries, what are always their top interests and goals? Job creation, wealth creation, standard of living, economic development, among others.
Other things.
Enterprises are created by entrepreneurs, and a lot of enterprises address all those areas I have mentioned. So the reason that you have noticed that in the past 6 years, the word entrepreneurship has been fancy is because entrepreneurs now are solving problems that we have been facing in our daily life. When I started my journey in 2012, I remember one time I was talking to my mother and I told my mother on phone that, Mama, I want to be an entrepreneur. He said, what's that, boy? Right? And the reason is even some of our parents could not really get the concept, right? Taking calculated risks to solve problems, to impact people. But today, it is the key to country's transformation because most entrepreneurs are the key drivers that are solving some of those solutions that I have even mentioned to have a nation going forward.
Fantastic, fantastic. You know, that is such a powerful thought. And if only everyone that is listening to this takes a moment to reflect on that, which is what I'm even going to help you do right now. You see, just like what Bako has said, nation building is important. It is the active participation of citizens in trying to improve the, you know, the quality of their nation and fulfill its aspirations. And if you look at entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship plays a huge part in that, just like Bako has said. And the world is awash with examples of people that started out as entrepreneurs, but they have become critical parts of the development of their companies, both at a very high level and at very small levels. I mean, if you've seen the documentary series, The Men Who Built America, they were all entrepreneurs, right? The Vanderbilts of this world, the Rockefellers of this world, the Carnegies of this world, Ford, they were all entrepreneurs. If you look at Africa today, you know, you can see some entrepreneurs that have started businesses that are now becoming mainstays of industries across different countries. You talk of people like Dangote and quite a number of other people. So entrepreneurship, like you have rightly said, is very critical to nation building, which brings me to your own brand of entrepreneurship in nation building, which you have called Afro-developism. Bako, tell us about this concept. You're the one who birthed it. Give us an idea of what Afro-developism is and its role in the economic development of Africa.
Very, very good point. First, a nation is built, a strong and powerful nation is built by the active hard work and dedication of its citizens, supported by the government. So any nation across the world, for example, Singapore, right? Singapore, look at where Singapore it is today. It was built by its own people.
Sure.
And that brings me now to Afro-developism. As the creator and leading proponent of Afro-developism, it is a call to action for more Africans to understand that we are not Africans because we were born in Africa. We are Africans because Africa is in us. And we need to play a leading role in the transformation of Africa. We cannot allow the West to come and transform Africa for us. So Afro-developism is an economic concept and philosophy that I started in 2013 to drive and promote economic development and social progress in Africa. It has been the backbone and driven point in everything I have done since 2013. Everything is powered by Afro-developism, because if we don't partake in the transformation of Africa, if we Africans don't partake in solving major problems in Africa, who else?
So it is the development of Africa that needs to be powered by Africans. Africans bailing Africa out. Africans being responsible for the growth and the development of their own continent. And I really love what you said about the West is not going to come and bail us out. And we need to have that mentality that it is in our power as Africans, whether we be in entrepreneurship, whether we be in human capital development, whether we be in governance and policy making, we need to all ensure that everything that we do is channeled towards the development of our own continent, which brings me to a very similar concept. Have you heard of the Afri-capitalism concept of Tony Elumelu?
Very well, right? Tony Elumelu is a mentor. He's one of the leading figures I looked up in Africa. I was fortunate enough in 2016 to meet with Tony Elumelu at the Powering Africa Summit in Washington, D.C. And when I met him, so many people came to him taking pictures. But my own interest was just to shake hands and say, I am the creator of Afro-developism.
Fantastic.
Afro-capitalism focused on private sectors need to play a leading role in Africa. Very true. The government cannot create us the jobs we need. The government cannot really transform Africa. The government are there to set the rule of law, to set many things that guide the private sector to take the lead in transforming economy. You can see an example even during this crisis. For example, in your home country, Nigeria, the private sector launched the Nigerian Private Coalition on fighting COVID-19. I saw people like Femi Otedola, Aliko Dangote, Mohamed Bouahi, and all the giants in the private sector giving in 1 billion naira to support the government in the fight against COVID-19. That tells you clean and clear that the private sector is the key in transforming Africa. But African development focus on calling more Africans to partake in the transformation of Africa.
Fantastic. You know, you've just answered my question, because one of the things that I had in mind was African capitalism I knew about, and then when I met you after we talked, when we connected after Forbes, and I heard about African development, I tried to research both concepts, and you really nailed it when you talked about the fact that African capitalism focuses on the private sector driving long-term investments that would develop Africa, but then the African development focuses on a more granular level, calling on a lot of Africans across multiple different platforms and across multiple industries to be involved in the development of the continent, regardless of how they do it. So some do it via advocacy, some do it via entrepreneurship, some do it via policy making, but we all must participate, and I truly, truly love that concept. Now, let's take it to the practical level. If I am a young entrepreneur from Nigeria, Botswana, Ghana, Morocco, Algeria, wherever it is that I might be from across the continent, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm watching this.
Yeah.
And I'm asking myself, how do I begin to incorporate these principles, this concept into my business? I love what Bako is saying. I love what Davies is emphasizing. How do I begin to include it into my own business and incorporate it into my daily life? What is the answer to that question?
Every country has a motto. Every business has a purpose, mission, and focus. At Bako Group, we are driven by the Afro-developism philosophy. If you are building any business that focuses on Africa, if we start channeling our businesses to solve problems, to create impact, to drive growth and development, then we are already part of the whole concept of
Afro-developism.
Yes, we just need to acknowledge that and try to get more people to play into it. I'll give you a good sample in this. If you take any community, like for example, there are places in Nigeria, when I go to Nigeria, right? You go to Victoria Island, you go to
Ikoyi.
Yeah, Ikoyi. But only within Lagos, there are places that if you go there, you will not believe you are in Nigeria, because it is crazy. The poverty is huge, right? But if you go to that same community and you identify 50 people, and you give them the skill set of an entrepreneur, ask them to identify 50 problems going on and challenges going on in that community and create a business to solve that problem. You come back in the next 5 years, I can bet you that community will not be the same.
Sure.
So
go ahead.
So just to boil it down, we need more businesses in Africa that are exposing Africans to inspire more people, that are creating businesses solving major problems in Africa, that are allowing more business to access capital, and are creating more jobs, impact investment, social entrepreneurship, job creating investment. Those type of movements will really take Africa forward.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I really love the approach and perspective, through which you've spoken about this, because, for me personally, my mission, my personal mission has always been to help Africa become a first world continent. And, I'd always believe that the way to do that is to ensure that we improve the quality of Africa's businesses, we improve the quality of Africa's human capital, and then we improve the quality of Africa's policies. Because I believe that if we do these three things, Africa will truly develop at a fast pace, and in no time we're going to be seen as a first world continent. And so it rings true for me when you talk about these things, because social entrepreneurship, for instance, which is something that you touched on, is a very critical element in all of this conversation. People must learn to start businesses based on the problems they have identified in their communities, in their localities, in their state, in their countries, maybe across even different regions in Africa. And I think that a lot of us are already practicing Afro-developism, like you said. We just need to recognize it, acknowledge it, and then encourage more people to do more in that regard. Bako, thank you very much. We've had a lot of fun, but I'm going to ask you some questions to get to know you a little bit better. But before I ask that, I would like to know, I'd like you to tell us what is the next frontier for you guys at Bako Group. It's 8 years down the road now. You've done so much, you've accomplished a lot. What are the next frontiers that you're looking at?
Look, in terms of sector perspective, I was in Nigeria, I think in March. Nigeria is the most populated country in Africa, the largest exporter of oil. But the electricity crisis in Nigeria is crazy. You go across many West and Central African countries, they still have that problem. We have 54 countries in Africa, over 600 million people without access to clean energy, without access to energy at all. At Bako Group, we have dedicated ourselves to contribute and helping African government to be electricity provider. What I mean by that is we are embarking on more solutions and services geared towards providing solar energy in many African countries, including Nigeria. There is a lot of smart and innovative solutions that we are working on to deploy within the next, I would say, 5 months. Despite coronavirus, it cannot stop us. We believe that when Africa is power, then we can industrialize Africa.
Sure.
Then so many things can happen. You go to Nigeria, the biggest group, the Aliko Dangote group of companies, they are providing power for their industries. Many African countries cannot industrialize because of lack of access to constant power. So one of the vital solutions that Africa needs is access to power. And that is the area we have dedicated to really work on in 2020. When we have achieved a great deal on that, we are going to move into other sectors. So for now, I'll tell you that what we are working on is access to energy.
Fantastic. That's so great, Bako, and it's such an encouraging and inspiring thing to hear, because like you have rightly identified, the electricity problem is critical. I've always said if Africa can get electricity and internet, high-speed internet right, we would accelerate at a rate that nobody in the world has ever seen before. So on behalf of all of the millions of people that are going to benefit from the innovations that Bako Group is currently working on, I'd like to say thank you very much, Bako. God bless you. Well done. Okay. So some rapid fire questions just to lighten the mood and to get the people that are watching to get to know you better. Are you ready?
Sure.
So tell us, would you rather play sports or would you rather watch the news?
Play sports?
Yes.
Or rather watch the news?
Yes.
First, I think the question is not good for somebody like me because I don't like the news. right? Many people have been consumed by what they see and hear, and a
Here,
lot of them, it
it has
affects
changed
their
their
daily.
mentalities negatively.
Let me tell you, where in 2014 and 2015, I took the television in my house, that's in Austin, and I put it under the bed because I did not want to be exposed to news. I was so focused on working on some projects that sometimes going on the news and just seeing what is happening around the world got
It
my mind
dampens your
confused.
morale.
Yeah, so I'm very careful and selective with the information that come in this head because garbage in, garbage go.
Garbage out. And I think that that is so remarkable. It's something that I preach and I talk about all the time. You need to guard the inputs that you put into yourself. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the news. I do not have a television in my house. You know, whatever I need to consume, I consume on demand via the internet. So that is such a remarkable thing, Bako. And it just goes to show again that, you know, like they say, birds of same feather flock together. Next question. Would you rather listen to music or watch a movie to relax?
Music, they say with the right music, the mood is fresh. So many
Awesome.
things can happen. I love music. Anytime I'm in the plane, let me give you a funny story about myself. I don't know if I've ever said this anywhere. Anytime I get in a plane, you know when the plane is about to take off, the taxi,
Yes.
right? It makes that noise, and when it takes off, I make sure that I have a music playing because sometimes I don't just like the feeling, the
Anxiety, the turbulence, all of those things.
all those things. So when I play a specific type of music, it gets me into a good mood. So music is good. Now for movies, I don't really watch a lot of movies. I watch a lot of documentaries, like all the great people that have done impact around the world. I like to watch their documentaries. For movies, I'm not really a movie person unless
Fantastic.
something like Black Panther, something like Black Panther, where everyone is talking about. Then I want to go and watch it to see what are they really excited about. You know?
Okay, fantastic. And I really love the fact that you touch on documentaries because I'm big on documentaries as well. Something that I'm watching right now is The Last Dance, which is a documentary about Michael Jordan and all of that. It's really interesting. Okay, so next question. Are you a tea person or are you a coffee person?
Good question. I used to drink a lot of coffee, and then I realized that I wanted my body to function normal. Like let me not be powered by a substance. So I stopped taking everything. This is my medicine, water.
Water, fantastic. Awesome. That is so good and so healthy. Would you rather read a book or listen to a podcast?
Book. I'm a book person. I actually launched a read challenge recently. I'm a book person.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm a published author. I've written 6 books, and I like I like to make people understand that everything that has been achieved in this world can be found in pages in books.
And it can be replicated.
Even as a Black person, right? You know, back in the days of slavery, they used to stop us from reading because knowledge is the new currency.
Sure. Like somebody that I know says knowledge is the new gold. So that is so fantastic. So outside of Cameroon, obviously, what is your favorite country in Africa?
If I have to be honest with you, it's Ghana.
Fantastic. Ghana is a great place.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Ghana,
awesome.
Ghana and Mauritius.
And Mauritius. Oh, great. I would love to visit Mauritius sometime. Never been there. Maybe even look them up because I have never really done any research on Mauritius. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Last question, Bako, before I let you go. What impact do you want to leave on the world?
You know, we are going to, first, let me tell you something. Once you leave this world, if people cannot stand and say, because of you, they are worth they are, it will be as if you have never lived. So one of my biggest motive is to be able to do more, live full, die empty. What do I mean? By the time I am leaving this world, I want to say, God, you gave me all this potential, and sorry, I couldn't leave zero to you. That makes sense?
I gave it all to the world.
Yeah, I gave it all to the world. So those are some of the things that really drives me, and I try to do more, to give more, to do more, to impact more people, to write more books, to start businesses that solve major problems, right? And I feel like I'm living my making, not making a living.
Fantastic, fantastic. Guys, you've heard it from the man himself. You know, you have to ensure that you deposit all of the potential that God has given you on this earth, so that people can say, because of you, I didn't give up. Because of you, I started that business. Because of you, I became a nation builder. And because of you, I joined the Afro-development concept. Guys, you have heard it from the man himself. Thank you very much, Bako, for coming on the show today. It has been such a pleasant pleasure to have you. And thank you for the impact that you create with the businesses that you run, and with your books, and with all of your initiatives that you push. Africa is very proud of you, and you know, we are very proud to be associated with you.
Thank you very much. Do you listen to Les Brown?
Yes, I listen to Les Brown once in a while, but it's not like the top for me. There are quite a number of people before I listen to Les Brown.
Okay. The way you speak, I can see some trends.
A little bit of Les Brown, a lot of Brian Tracy, Donald Trump, Richard Branson, a lot of those other guys.
You know, just to tell you, in my early days, I attended a lot of Brian Tracy's trainings in California, and those guys, what people fail to understand is, no matter what industry someone is active, you're starting a business, you are going to school, whatever, it is always important to have a motivation. Those guys you have mentioned, the Richard Branson, the Tony Robbins, the Eric Thomas, the Les Brown, all those guys, Robert Kiyosaki, all those guys helped me to understand and find my purpose.
Exactly, same with me.
As I always say, two most important days are the day we are born and the day we realize why we are born. And until we find that purpose and that drive, we are going to be living life without having that self-fulfillment. So to just leave you, I want to say that Africa, there are 54 countries, over 1.2 billion people, over 2,000 languages, youngest population in the world. We have problems with payment processing, with transportation, with security, safety, with intra-Africa trade, with access to power. So many problems in Africa. But guess what? All those problems lies the opportunities in Africa. All those challenges lies the opportunities in Africa. So in order for Africa to transform, we need more entrepreneurs that are going to focus on identifying some of those problems and creating businesses to solve them. So you are doing an excellent job in having more people to partake in nation building. And I believe that the world will be a better place because you showed up. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Bako. Thank you for those amazing final words. Guys, you've heard it. Now, I'm going to just encourage everyone that is watching this. If you're not following Bako, ensure that you go on Instagram right now. You're already on Instagram, and follow at Bako Ambianda. You just look for him. If you can even see his name on the screen right now. Click on it and go follow him, because as you can see, there's a lot of wisdom here. If you're not following me as well, ensure that you follow at Davies Okeowo, because I'm going to continue to bring up the streams and bring up thought leaders, and we can have conversations that would inspire the work that we do and inspire the upliftment of our dear continent, Africa. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Thank you, Wisdom. Thank you, Thobo. Thank you to everyone who joined in from South Africa, from Nigeria, Bright. You know, everybody, I can't mention all the names, but thank you all for joining in. I'm going to have another guest tomorrow. Please ensure that you tune in. Thank you very much, Bako, for coming on the show. Have a great day, and bye, everyone.